Well, good day to all you Shaw viewers today on a bit of an overcast day here in the great city. And I just wanted to say this morning that council got down to business on the council meeting of May the 9th, and it's always a privilege to be with you and answer your questions. So let's get started.
Thank you, Mayor Johnson. At Monday's meeting, administration brought forward a report around creating a new entertainment district bylaw.
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit about what an entertainment district is and where in Red Deer it may be applied?
Well, that's a great question. You know, the entertainment districts, we're seeing more and more of them grow up in different municipalities and across our province. So essentially what an entertainment district does, it allows the service of alcoholic drinks, beverages, if you will, restricted to typically a patio setting. So for example, in our own downtown on the Ross Street patio, council empowered administration last night to bring back a bylaw, and a bylaw is required under the AGLC guidelines. So in other words, it has to be a regulated practice. So there are limits on, for example, it would be prohibited to bring drinks into the entertainment district. You must buy them there, if you will, and it would be prohibited to take them out of the entertainment district and so on. So you have a specific designated space, typically, as I said, in an outdoor patio, where people can gather and enjoy a very, very relaxing social time in that space, and also have it regulated by a bylaw. So it's a very exciting project for us. Council is hoping, and administration is also hoping, that by the 24th of May, which is the next council meeting, that bylaw will be able to come to council, and I would hope would get all three readings and be enforced by the 1st of June. That would be wonderful.
And will public have an opportunity to provide feedback on the bylaw?
Absolutely. You know, this is the great thing about what I would call an open channel, which our communications department takes a lot of pride in and has worked very, very hard on. So the public is invited to send their remarks through our website, through the mayor's mailbox, if you will, through any of our councilors. That would be just fine. This is not a public hearing because it's not a land use bylaw. This would really be under more of a community standards type of bylaw. So it's not land use, and by that I mean there won't be a public hearing around it. But the public is welcome and invited, and please do send your comments to council, send your comments to the mayor, or send them through our communications department as to how you feel and what you would see as the best use of that entertainment district.
And speaking of community standards, council considered second and third reading of two amendments to the community standards bylaw yesterday. In regards to vehicle noise and noise on private property, council approved second and third reading of this amendment. Do you believe this amendment will make an impact on vehicle and property noise in our community?
I think it will, because last summer we did issue some tickets around the noise bylaw. The big difference in noise regulation and enforcement, if you will, is that the courts have recognized certain decibel levels of noise. In the past, noise was very subjective. So in other words, what might bother me from a noise perspective might not bother you or neighbors, as the case may be. So noise was very subjective. Now noise is actually quantified or measurable in the bylaw amendments. So for example, an idling engine in a car, truck, or motorcycle, for example, can't exceed 92 decibels. And then when that vehicle is in motion, when it's being driven, it can't exceed 96 decibels. So there are great advances in technology, the most notably being sound meters. Sound meters are now available from technology improvements to our community peace officers. So these are the type of measurements that we'll require. And from an enforcement perspective, many Red Deerians, council talked about it last night, in particular, do get bothered by noise, particularly on those neighborhoods that are adjoining arterial streets or busy collector streets. I think of 39th Street going east. I think of Ross Street going east. I think of 32nd Street, going east and west. These are very, very busy very busy roadways and streetways. So I think it will make a difference, but really at the core of it all is just really what I would call decency and respect for your neighbors, for people in traffic, for walkers, for cyclists, for people on scooters. You know, if you have a loud engine, please don't misuse it, and respect the roadways and your neighbors.
And last night, council approved third reading of prohibiting keeping livestock on city property as an amendment.
Yes.
You spoke a bit about it last week, so for the people who have missed that, can you talk a bit about why it came to council?
Well, you know, this is the curious nature of bylaws. Where a bylaw does not specifically name or prohibit or permit something, then anything is permitted. So what we found in our livestock bylaw, if you will, or the livestock section of the community standards bylaw, was there was quite a gap in the definition of livestock and what could be kept and what couldn't be kept, forgive me, on property. So, for example, goats, for example, or pigeons, etc. You know, they're now finding themselves on the prohibited list. Whereas, of course, domestic animals, birds, fish, cats, dogs, those kinds of things are permitted, and of course, chickens are permitted in our city. And I asked a question last night specifically around chickens. You know, we brought urban chickens into the city. I think it was around 2015. It might have been late 2014. And at the time, we issued 100 licenses, which was a license for every 1,000 people. Our administration told us last night that we have a waiting list of over 150 people for urban chicken licenses, which certainly tells you many things about the success of how chickens are being brought into the city. So administrations are going to come to us in the fall with some recommendations around that, whether it might be lowering the 1,000 people per license to say something like 600 or 500, I'm not sure. Or it might be general amendments right across the board, which would include things like beekeeping, for example, and so on, because some citizens do ask us about that as well. So it'll be interesting. I would say to the great viewers of Shaw to stay tuned and see what we're going to bring to the public in the fall.
Thank you. And also yesterday, council reviewed options for public participation regarding a permanent shelter in Red Deer. What direction of engagement was reviewed and approved by council?
Well, that's a wonderful question. That's a great question because really administration works so very, very hard on bringing us, you know, a consultation strategy which was genuine in nature, you know, which was fundamentally genuine and authentic. So there were 2 points of view expressed at council last night, and ultimately one of our councilors, Councillor Hyam, put together a third option, which was unanimously endorsed by council and certainly supported to a great degree by administration in terms of some of the wording and some of the timing around it. So the 2 points of view that were expressed primarily, one was around what is called the Memorandum of Understanding, which is a document signed with the province. It's about 2 years old now, and it gives the city some parameters around the shelter. And then on option B, we had the site selection parameter, which we've been in conversation with the province with, and they have been very, very gracious in saying to our community that we do have a say. We can express a preferred site, which we originally did in January or so, but of course in community consultation discovered that the public wanted a greater say and they wanted us to continue to search for a site, and they were willing to help us. So it's very important that we realize that the province has the ultimate say, if you will, the ultimate authority over the site. But they have invited us to weigh in, do a community consultation, and council last night is going to do the consultation in sort of two pieces, if you will. The first one is going to be on site criteria, and that's going to involve a series of public gatherings, a series of online invitations, areas where the public can contribute. That will accumulate on June the 20th. That's council's meeting of June 20. So we'll have a chance to look at site criteria. And then on July the 18th, which is a month later at council's meeting on July the 18th, council will consider the site criteria and then land on where they believe is the site most preferred by the community after a review of the site criteria. So the public is invited not only to present site criteria as we go forward, but if you actually have a location, you're invited to present that as well. When we meet on the 18th of July, we'll be submitting that site selection to the province, and we hope, and certainly the province has been dealing with us in good faith all along, we hope the province will consider that as the site, even though we know the province has the final authority.
Thank you. Was there anything else from yesterday's council meeting you'd like to mention to viewers?
Well, it certainly was a terrific council meeting from a lot of perspectives. One of them was the wage settlement, with the firefighters folks, and it was a shout out, I think, to all of those folks who really have had an extraordinary 2 years of battling COVID, battling staff absences because of illness, and so on. And it was very gratifying, I think, to arrive at a settlement last night that in the end won't cost us any more from our existing resources, meaning our budget resources. And that's a credit, I think, to both sides of the table, both our own administration people and both the firefighters union representatives who really came up, I think, with a wonderful settlement. So I thought that was very, very positive. Certainly, I look forward to the public hearing results last night, which will see the design of homes in Timberlands North take on a new flavor. That will open it up to more builders and obviously more housing development in Timberlands, which is also very exciting.
Thank you. And do you want to just do a little closing message and we'll be done?
Yeah, I would. So Red Deer, last Thursday, the community marked Red Dress Day in our city, and it's a very bittersweet memorial, frankly, to missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. And I say bittersweet in the context that these are missing mothers, daughters, sisters, aunts, friends, and so on. And in the bitterness of their loss and the inability for many of us to have closure, there's the sweetness of the memories of those lives and how they touched us and how they contributed to our upbringing or the people that we are today. So it was a bittersweet day. And it reminded me everywhere out there in our community, my great Red Deerian citizens, it reminded me that if we're going to come together and be a whole community, to be a close community, to embrace each other, it starts with us, and it starts with the ability to find the humanity in all of us, and to really embrace each other's humanity. We're all in this together. This world is a troubled place at the best of times, but there is always constantly the comfort of companionship and love and relationship. And I really think for Red Dress Day, for me, that's really what spoke to me on that particular day. And so I'm inviting all Red Deerians to embrace their own humanity and to embrace the humanity of everyone, of their neighbors. And in that way, you really do have the power to create a better community. So for next time, this is Mayor Ken signing out, and we'll see you in a few weeks' time.